Kei ngā iho o ngā maunga whakahi, kei ngā wai whakatere taniwha, rarau mai ki te hui. Ko mihi ngā rangi tēnei e mihi atu nei ki a koutou katoa. Welcome to the Hui, Maori Current Affairs for all New Zealanders. E taro ake nei. He spent more than 5.5 years in jail for breaching his parole conditions. Did you know at the time that you weren't allowed to drink?
Not at the time. I guess it was a miscommunication and understanding on what the ruling actually was.
We're there when Tipane Halford is finally released from prison. How important is that to clear your name?
Oh, it's my everything.
And we check out the Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei housing project, creating kāinga for kaumātua.
10 brand new, low maintenance and purpose-built whare, co-designed by our kaumātua for our kaumātua.
Tahuti mai. Tonight, we're looking back at one of our biggest stories of 2021. When Tipane Halford was released from jail for murder in 2013, he did everything in his power to turn his life around. He got a student loan, put himself through film school and became a cameraman. But in 2016, he was recalled to prison for breaching his parole as a result of a serious charge, for which he was later acquitted. 5.5 years later, in 2021, Tipane remained inside, but his supporters hadn't given up the fight to free him. Anei te pūrongo. Tipane Halford has spent nearly all of his adult life behind bars.
As a dad, I've missed him. I've lost all those years.
He served a sentence for murder, but now he's behind bars again for breaching parole.
I don't see how they can justify it, but they have kept him in for 5.5 years so far, and counting.
5.5 years for having a drink.
What are they doing? They're not helping him in there.
Tipane grew up on Auckland's North Shore, the eldest of 5 adopted children. His father, Stephen, says it was a happy childhood, surrounded by lots of friends and cousins. What kind of child was he?
He's a little brat, but they all are.
As a teenager, he started hanging out at video arcades in the central city, often sleeping rough.
Yeah, he just wanted to do his thing. He wanted to be his man type thing. He grew up far too fast. So he did start living away from home very early, lived on the streets. He worked when he was out there, so I don't know if I'd call him a street kid, but he was working.
As a teenager, Tipane Halford had numerous run-ins with the law, but they were all fairly minor. But in 2002, at 19 years of age, he and 3 others were convicted of murdering Nicholas Clarkson at a cash machine near Queen Street in a robbery gone wrong. A key witness was given immunity from prosecution for their testimony, and Tipane has always maintained his innocence. His father, Stephen, believes him.
Because I attended the court cases and everything, and I says, well, where's your bloody evidence? You know, I couldn't understand what the evidence was. I still can't.
It's very rare for somebody to be in prison who didn't commit the crime, but is that the case for your son, do you think?
I think so. I think that if he was tried by himself, he would not be in there. But they put all 4 of them together and they coerced, as far as I'm concerned, I think the word is right, coerced some of them into statements.
In 2013, after serving 11 years for a murder he says he didn't commit, Tipane was paroled and started to turn his life around. He put himself through South Seas Film School and became a cameraman.
I became aware of him when he was doing camera work on the first feature that I wrote that got made.
Television director Tanya Wheeler hired Tipane on several jobs and became close friends. What did you think of him?
He was really good at his job. He loved camera work. When we had him on the film set, nothing was too much trouble, whether he needed to jump in his gaffer or grip or camera or DOP for the day, he just did whatever was needed. And he was so helpful, so calm, so friendly with everybody.
That's kind of what our corrections and justice system asks of prisoners, is to rehabilitate themselves, right?
Yes, he proved himself. You know, I watched him closely, and every single thing he did, every interaction with everybody on set, and his interactions off set as well, I really respected him.
There was one troubling incident in 2015 when Tipane was recalled to prison for 3 weeks for disorderly behaviour and resisting arrest. But he was soon back out and working on a science show created by Tanya.
Been a whole lot of passion on the students, and it's really enjoyable to be around.
But one day, Tipane suddenly disappeared. Tanya's cameraman had vanished with no explanation.
He wasn't answering Facebook messages, text messages, nothing, phone calls. We couldn't reach him. And that's when I found out from another cameraman that he had been recalled to prison on a parole violation, which shocked me. I was surprised.
You know, Tipane would have been out and you were proud of him, he was doing some great things. What happened?
Well, he met up with his cousin and they decided, well, they go out and have a couple of drinks together, and there was a confrontation, and the guy was picking on Tipane, wanted to pick on Tipane because he was such a big boy, and he was walking away and this guy was chasing him and hassling him, and then stepped in and he says, hey, leave him alone, just cut it out, stop it and everything. And the guy didn't, and then took a swing at missed of course, because was quite fast, and popped him one and put him on the ground. And they picked him up and dragged him off the road. And Tipane came home and he told me about it. And so I says, oh, well, we'll get a good night's sleep and we'll see what we do in the morning, eh?
The next day, Tipane Halford voluntarily went to the police station to notify them about the incident and admitted he'd had a drink. So you didn't have to go down to the police station, but you thought it was important to just flag it, that had happened?
Yeah, that is correct. Well, Tipane wanted to go down there and clear the air and saying that he was there and saw what happened. And I sat out the back waiting. They finally came out and told me that Tipane will be recalled.
Tipane was charged with wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and he was recalled to prison. But his lawyer at the next parole hearing made it clear that he denied the charge. 13 months later, he was acquitted, but he still remains in prison today.
They just kept him there.
For what reason?
Oh, breach of parole.
For the alcohol?
Oh, well, this is what I can't get my head around. Why have they kept him there?
In terms of the alcohol, did either of you know that he was still unable to have alcohol?
No, I thought that he wasn't allowed any alcohol or to be in any premises that served alcohol for the first 6 months of his parole. And after that, I thought it was okay because we used to have a couple of drinks at home.
So the two of you believed that he was able to have a drink,
yeah,
if he was being sensible and he wasn't breaking the law,
yep,
some 3 and a bit years after he had left prison.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
Yep.
In fact, Tipane was still subject to a 5-year alcohol ban and has now served another 5.5 years. His dreams of working in the film industry over.
He's kept his nose clean in prison. He's never had any problems in prison. Not violent, not aggressive. He's done all the courses, he's done all the psych reports. He's been found very low risk.
But the parole board has repeatedly turned down Tipane's bid for release, saying his rehabilitative treatment can't be successful if he won't accept his part in the murder and his subsequent recalls.
They've made it pretty clear that if he admitted his guilt, then they'd let him go home. But he said he's happy to admit to things he did do. He said he's not an angel, but he's not prepared to say he killed a person when he didn't.
Tipane Halford has always maintained his innocence in the murder of Nicholas Clarkson in 2001, and there are concerns around the safety of that conviction. The Criminal Cases Review Commission, which looks at miscarriages of justice, is set to investigate his case. But in the meantime, his fate is in the hands of the Parole Board. Maori justice reform advocate Julia Whaiporti.
We live in a country where we don't just imprison people for life. They're meant to come back out to us. And he could be seen as a success story, to be honest, because he was released prior and he was contributing positively to community. He was working, he was earning money, he was supporting an industry, learning within industry and supported to do well within that. And now they've put him back inside and they've just held him there for an extra 5 years.
It's really a catch-22 because he continues to maintain his innocence for the crime that he served a sentence for, but the Parole Board keeps knocking him back.
He served his time. It would be a count against him being released early, but it's not a question of him being released early. He has served time for the thing that he was found guilty for.
Tipane Halford will go before the Parole Board on Friday. An anxious wait for whānau and friends who just want him to come home.
So it's been a real struggle to have my eyes open to the inequalities. It is really hard to see how much I think racism plays a part in the justice system and also poverty, because I look at his situation and think, had he been white, this wouldn't have happened to him.
And we filmed that story in November last year. Hei muri i ngā whakatairanga ko te wāhanga tuarua o tērā pūrongo. Nō reira, kia mau tonu mai rā, te titiro. Auraki mai anō. Days after our first story on Tipane Halford screened in November 2021, Tipane went before the Parole Board again. This time the board agreed to release him. Our camera was there as Tipane walked free. After more than 5 long years in jail as a result of a parole violation, Tipane Halford is finally a free man. Last Monday, he walked out of the grounds of the Kuhuora Corrections Facility in Wiri and into the arms of his waiting father.
Oh, mate, good to see you finally, mate.
After years of the Parole Board turning down his application for freedom, it was a day both Tipane and his father feared might never come. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
What's it feel like?
It's just, there's a lot to sort of think about, a lot of things to do.
You've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, but I just want to do all the little things first and then start making the big things happen.
Those little things included a trip to the mall. Tipane walked out of prison with just the clothes on his back. The 39-year-old has had to start his life all over again, something he has done before. In 2013, after serving 12 years for a murder he's always maintained he didn't commit, Tipane was paroled from prison and turned his life around. He became a cameraman, working in the television and film industry. But 3 years later, his life would take a turn for the worse after a man was assaulted by Tipane's cousin when they were leaving a bar.
Someone got hurt. I tried my best not to be involved, but when he was hurt, I'd come to his aid and put him in the recovery position, pulled him off the road, put him back in the recovery position, went to go and retrieve my vehicle so we could take him to the hospital. But by the time I got back to where the situation was, the police were already there. So in my head, I sort of thought, well, they had who punched him over, they had him who started it all, and then I just went home.
And you thought the best thing for you to do is just be completely transparent and honest about it.
I try to be as transparent as I can with the people who hold my freedom. So that's probation, the police. So I just walk in there, accept that they're going to charge me, hoping to get bail the next day, but it never happened. I wasn't expecting to sort of be locked back up again.
Tipane Halford was arrested and charged with wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. After spending 18 months behind bars, he was found not guilty at trial. You might think that would be the end of it, but Tipane was to spend another 4 years in jail, all as a result of admitting to having a beer the night of the assault. Did you know at the time that you weren't allowed to drink?
Not at the time. I guess it was a miscommunication and understanding on what the ruling actually was.
Tipane Halford had broken his parole conditions, the devastating consequence, a further 5.5 years behind bars. God, does that make you angry?
Nah, I was frustrated. You're actually not allowed to get angry inside because it can just make everything crumble down real fast. So you can lose all your privileges, all your ability to see your family.
And being with whānau is all Tipane wants right now. After finally getting out of jail, he made it to the home of longtime supporter and filmmaker Tanya Wheeler, who's been campaigning for his release for years.
He says he's been missing vegetables in prison. Let's say he's got vegetables.
With her family and his father, Stephen, Tipane got to eat something he had been dreaming of behind bars, roast lamb with all the trimmings. The simple act of sharing food with whānau and friends was something Tipane had longed for. And while he now wants to put prison behind him to focus on getting his camera career back on track, to go forward, Tipane will need to go back. Because you've got a new thing to do now, and that's to clear your name.
Yes. Fixing the past is it takes a while, and it takes a lot of people who have the heart and the soul and the mana to do that stuff.
How important is that to clear your name?
Oh, it's my everything.
In 2002, at age 19, Tipane Halford and 3 others were found guilty of murdering Nicholas Clarkson at a cash machine near Queen Street in a robbery gone wrong. A key witness was given immunity from prosecution for their testimony. Tipane has always maintained his innocence.
When I first got found guilty of the murder, I wrote 40 different letters, all by hand, to 40 different law companies asking for someone to help. Because my lawyer dropped me, didn't want to help me with an appeal, so I wrote to 40 different ones. I got 5 replies. 4 of them said, no, they can't help me. And 1 said that he would have a look at my case and said that it's too much work.
But now the Criminal Cases Review Committee, which looks at miscarriages of justice, has undertaken a preliminary review of his case, and what it has seen has prompted an investigation. Could Tipane have been telling the truth all these years?
Being found guilty of something you didn't do. Oh, jeez. Oh, and having a hangover for 21 years. And just being told that nobody can help you. You know, asking and asking if people can help. My mum and dad were there. And that's pretty much all I had for a very long time.
Are you ready for this fight now?
Yeah. I've got enough information. I've got the tuara for it. 21 years of pain can only make one person stronger. So I also look to whiti o rongo mai, you know, whare haka. Then I've got my tupuna, kawati. The fight was laid before me. I just got to do my part. You know, I'm hoping I could change sort of how the system is working and is running. Having that knowledge of our tupuna is something to hold on to.
Something to hold on to as Tipane begins to rebuild his life. Kia kaha I te tungane. He kaupapa kāinga e haere ake nei. After the break, we look at the housing initiative creating kāinga for kaumātua. Kei te mātakitaki koutou I a te hui. A new Ngāti Whātua ki Ōrākei housing project is creating new homes for kaumātua on their papakainga. What makes the project unique is kaumātua have helped to design the development themselves alongside architects, enabling them to retire right next to their marae. Kei D'Angelo Martin, tēnei ripoata.
I'm very overwhelmed. Very exciting for me, only being home a short while. I believe that I'm lucky that I've got a whare right here on my kainga, next to our marae.
It's a blueprint for how whānau housing could look. 10 kaumātua welcomed into brand new, purpose-built whare.
Lots of lower level drawers, yes, so that you don't have to reach up high.
71-year-old Anita Poko's kāinga is within the new kaumātua housing village in Tāmaki Makauro's Ōrākei.
10 brand new, low maintenance and purpose-built whare, co-designed by our kaumātua for our kaumātua.
The new builds were made on a budget of $5 million, boasting stunning multi-million-dollar views overlooking Auckland City. Anita returned home from Australia 2 years ago after the passing of her older brother.
When you get phone calls like auntie's passed and, you know, your uncle's gone, and you think, oh man, I just want to go home. But when my oldest brother died, and I came home, I just knew at that time it was time to stay home.
The whare were allocated to kaumātua based on need. Meanwhile, Anita has been living with her auntie Meiha while her new whare was being built.
She actually gave her double room up for me, so I'm really gratified to her that she has given me her space.
Auntie Meiha didn't just give her space, she helped to design the new whare.
And they came and asked me what wasn't good in me. And for us kaumātuas to have this, to get to the toilet can be pretty awkward. Now with me, I'm okay. My cousin can be hard.
So this is your main bedroom? Yes. And how we designed it was so that you could have easy access to an ensuite.
One of Meiha's suggestions was to make sure the newly built whare had 2 bedrooms.
We need our mokos. We need a bedroom where our mokos. can sleep and stay with, and they don't mind. There's always a moko that wants to stay with their nana. And that's why I said, in a bedroom, a bigger one than this one. So the moko stay.
Architect Madeline Sharp helped draw up the plans for Anita's whare and says the homes aren't just for kaumātua now, but for their whānau in the future.
They all believe that they're building whare not for themselves, but their mokopuna and their children's children, and they see that really long-term picture. So I hope Anita gets what she wants, but I think she and all of them realised that they're building for their grandchildren as well. The kuia were thinking about using it for a sewing room or hobby room. But
what makes this housing initiative special is the collaboration between architect and owner.
We didn't really want carpet. We really wanted floorboards, which is easy to maintain when we get older, when we can't push a vacuum cleaner, things like that. Open living, lounge and dining room all together. An ensuite, which we have. We've got beautiful gardens that our mother have put plants in for us, and they're all native plants. So yeah, those are the things that a few of the things that we've wanted.
You know, if their needs change physically, they can still say that, I think, through the process that we undertook. And as a result, really feel quite connected to some of those kaumātua who are moving in.
This project saw Ngāti Whātua's own tradies employed to do the mahi, from the building and construction right down to the electrics. For the kaimahi, this is not just any job. It's a privilege to help their kaumātua and their iwi.
It actually means a lot because we drive past every week nearly, bring my kids up here and just show them all the work that I do around Auckland and up here as well. It means a lot. Safer, warmer houses for our kaumātua. Just a sense of having whānau in there, working together. It's a happy work site, you know.
What sets this papakainga apart is that it's right next door to Ōrākei Marae, something Anita has been missing since she was a young girl.
I was born down at the bottom. My parents died when I was 12, so I was sent away from here. Because I know this is my place. This is where I'm from. And also, we never had a marae. And I'm happy that we do have now, and I'm glad that I'm close to that marae. Sorry. I'm just grateful I'm back in Ōrākei right now. I'll be here for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. And they can come home.
Nā D'Angelo Martin, tērā pūrongo, ko hikina te hui e huama, nohoro mai rā. Nā te puna whakatongarewa te hui I tautoko.